going on a little excursion. And so this is a traditional Gaelic blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Amen.
Here.
Now we do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Beth, for a wonderful invocation. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Eric.
Morning.
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
We have several guests joining us this morning, and I'll start with our guest, Cecilia. Welcome back, Cecilia.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. Our second guest is Terry Davis.
Hi.
Terry, how did you find us?
Dave made me come. No, he invited me. And he owes me to be up this early, dress, makeup, and everything. So you owe me, Dave.
Well, we appreciate you coming on this morning. And our guest, Craig Curtis. Craig, please tell us where you're from and how'd you find us?
Yes, my name is Craig. I found you on Facebook. Larry McKenzie had made a posting on Facebook. I'm coming to you today from District 95, which consists of Germany, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. I'm coming to you today from Frankfurt, Germany. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, we appreciate you coming on all the way from Germany. Thank you so much. Are there any announcements from the floor?
Yes.
David.
Sylvia, did you have anything?
Just a reminder that the dues are due. You'll probably hear me say that one more time. And this weekend I'm sending everything to National. I know everything is due to them October 1st, but if I get it all in this weekend, then I would just do the little stragglers. So please send me or PayPal or something. Dues are due. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. And I see that we have our guest, Jamil Barton, is back. Welcome back, Jamil.
Thank you.
Eric, I do have an announcement if you have the time.
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
We are still working with the Lockport High School. As you know, Eric, you sent them the video there, and Jill is editing that to accommodate the kids in the classroom. She has a difficult time with it this year because she has students in the classroom and students on virtual learning that she's teaching both of those classes of students at the same time. So it's very difficult for her, and we're trying to figure out right now logistically how we can do the evaluation training for the students using that virtual and in-person training. So it is going well. Carol is doing a workshop with them, and I believe I'm going to speak, and then someone else is going to evaluate me. It's just to show them how good evaluation works. So we are currently working with them, and she does appreciate the help that Lockport AM Toastmasters has given her and helping her with these students who are working on public speaking. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Tom. Are they still still on Zoom? Are they doing via Zoom or Google Meet?
And they do Google Meet, Eric. It's a little different format, and That's one of the issues is they can't do breakouts. We talked about maybe doing a breakout with students where they work on an evaluation, that sort of thing. So there's some things to work out, but we'll get to it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much for that update, Tom.
You're welcome.
Are there any other
Please
announcements?
call on Dave, please.
Dave. Dave, there's something wrong with your audio. We can't hear you.
It's surprising Dave's having trouble with the mute button.
Could not be a bad thing.
Dave, we seriously can't hear you.
You're going to have to type it in the chat.
Actually, I hope he gets his audio working. He's a speaker.
Oh,
Microphone in.
All right, well, if there are any other announcements, I'll turn things over to our Toastmaster of the day, Larry McKenzie. Larry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This morning, I'd like to welcome all of our guests joining us, and we do have a guest that has joined us since Eric had welcomed our guests, and we have a returning guest, Kinga, and we would like to welcome her this morning. Welcome, Kinga. Oh, she has herself muted. So welcome, Kinga. We'll come back to you in a little bit. This morning, my theme for this morning is favorite one-day road trips. Now, this is a theme that we have used in the past, but I thought it was very appropriate to use today. And the reason I say that is that this past weekend, we had the lovely opportunity to spend some time together at Niagara Shores, which was a wonderful trip over the weekend. And if you can see, Niagara Shores is in the background. Now, Niagara Shores is just north, or just that way from Alcott, and it's almost to Margam Manor. And so it's a wonderful place to go for a weekend, a one-day trip. And the best part about there, other than it's actually Appleton area where it is located, Appleton or Burt is the mailing address. But one of the wonderful things that we enjoyed there was the sunsets. And you really can't see it behind me, but there was a beautiful sunset there that whole evenings that we were there, Friday, Saturday, and we saw the sunset Sunday also before we departed. And it's a wonderful one-day trip if you wanted to take a drive. And while you're doing that too, don't forget the Niagara Wine Trail, which is all along and throughout that area, because it will help out all of our local businesses. And you also get a chance to raise a glass of wine. And that's a good one-day trip. The only thing is you must have a designated driver if you're like me, because you may want to have more than one sample. We'll just put it that way. This morning, we have some roles that we would like to find out about. And I see that Ryan is with us. Ryan Flory, what is our word of the day?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. In sticking with the theme of the day, I have decided on a word with German roots this morning. The word of the day is wanderlust. Wanderlust is a noun, and it is a strong desire to travel. Using it in a sentence, after listening to this morning's meeting and being motivated, I was consumed by wanderlust. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And if you could put that in the chat for us, that would be wonderful.
Abso-positively.
Abso-positively. And Ryan was out there this past weekend, and we were able to tip a glass or three and have a little toast to the evening. And thank you for that wonderful wanderlust word. And we will move along to our master this morning, Steve Smith. Steve, what is your role?
Well, my role today is to listen for ahs, and, so's, or any other interesting word you might choose to use as a crutch word, and I will report on this later.
Thank you very much, Steve. Next, our grammarian, the mom of our group, Jackie Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will be listening both for excellent grammar and for poor choices. And while I sit here trying to curb my wanderlust, I'll be making notes and give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Next, we are in for a treat. We have our quote master, Jill Roaring. Jill.
My quote for the day. I'm getting an email.
Oh.
My quote for the day. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Is from a person named Albert Pike, which I have no clue who Albert Pike is. But this seemed appropriate. We are all naturally seekers of wonders. We travel far to see the majesty of old ruins, the venerable forms of the hoary mountains, great waterfalls, and galleries of art. And yet the world's wonder is all around us. The wonder of setting suns, the evening stars, of the magic springtime, the blossoming of the trees, the strange transformations of the moth. Back to you, Larry.
Thank you very much, Jill. Our quote of the day. Next, we have our jester master, always ready for a good jest, Mr. Phil Russell.
I have always been a wanderlust ever since I ran away from home the first time when I was about 4. I went down to the corner, went across the street because that was a no-no going across the street. But when I got hungry, I came home. And I forgave everybody for why I ran away. But being in it with this day trip, I love day trips. Here in Niagara County, we have the greatest place in the world to go a day trip, Niagara Falls. How about Fort Niagara? 30-mile point with the great lighthouse there. On one day trip recently, went to Old Scotland Road in Akron and found the Handlebar Distillery, because when we wanderlust, we like to go to the wineries, breweries, and distilleries. Now, there's some great places for a little longer day trips. Letchworth Park, Allegheny. I took one recently. Oh, it was wonderful. Lake Placid. Lake Placid, where the Olympics were held. Go along the lake. It's an all-day day trip, because then when you get there, you really need to stay in the Adirondacks because it is so gorgeous. Getting to see now the bobsled runs and the luge under construction, because next year is the World Championships at Lake Placid. And everything is being revitalized because they're going to have the University World Championships. They were actually practicing. It was wonderful to see. And going to Whiteface Mountain, everybody can poo-poo our ski slopes in the Northeast, but the greatest skiers come from the Northeast because they have to ski on ice. We're out west and in the Alps, they can ski on powder. But here, it's ice. What a wonderful thing. Now, oh, I'm supposed to give a jest. Let's remember that. I have 2. First one, light travels faster than sound. This is why some people appear bright until you hear them speak. All right. With the rise of self-driving vehicles, it's only a matter of time before we get a country song where a guy's truck leaves him as well. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow guests, Toastmasters and guests.
Thank you very much, Phil. Well, now that you've already hit on all of the one-day trips, we'll move right along. That was a very wonderless presentation of your jest. Guess what we have now? We have our timer of the day. Mokles, tell us about your role, if you would, please.
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and wonderful guests who are attending today. Time is money, right? Time and tide wait for none. And my favorite quote is from Ben Franklin: "You may delay, but time will not." My job today is to keep time for the table topic speakers, the prepared speeches, and also the evaluators. Table topics are 1.5 minute, 2 minute, and 2.5 for green signal, yellow, and the red. And if you can see the background of mine change to these colors, that means you've attained those time milestones. Larry and Len, if I may request, you guys also please support with the color changes, because that makes it easier, because the size of the pictures are very small. If there are more than one, it helps the speakers. Speeches are of varying, and I think the Toastmaster will announce them as they introduce the speakers. They will also get the 1 minute, the first end of the first time period is green, and then yellow after 1 minute, and red after 2 minutes. And evaluators are 2 minutes, 2.5, and 3 for the green, yellow, and red. And everybody gets 30 seconds cushion time to change to a different meeting. Here are the green on my screen, yellow on my screen, and red on my screen. And you'll also have support from Larry and Len, so that we can help you along. That's my report or introduction of the timer. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Moklas. One of the other things that we do at AM Lockport is that we have a gesture master. Stepping up to take on that role this morning, Larry Eggert.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I will be the gesture master today, which means I will be watching these tiny little squares and trying to decipher any gestures that you guys might have as you speak. It's interesting as I look now, because some people are very close to the camera and some people are way back. So I will have an opportunity to look at everybody's gestures, and I will report back at the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, my other brother, Larry. And we also make sure that you were listening throughout our meetings this morning. And our quiz master, Carol Ann.
Good morning. I will be listening this morning, and hopefully you will be listening very closely. And at the end, there will be questions. Larry.
Thank you very much, Carol. With us this morning, we also have a couple of guests who have joined us. Since we welcomed our guests, we want to welcome Sally Rippengale. Sally, please say hi and tell us where you are from. Hello, Sally. All right, I guess Sally will be joining us in a little bit then. And we also have, I believe it's the Trethaway, it does say here. Want to welcome our guest. And if you can unmute and say hello and let us know where you are from. All right, well, Sally is coming back on now. She must have got knocked off on the internet. So what we will do is we will circle back to them. This morning.
She's back.
She is back, yes. Sally, are you able to unmute and say good morning and let us know where you are from? Well, we will let Sally take care of that, and we will be back to her in a little bit. This morning, we have table topics, which is our impromptu speaking portion of our meeting. And today we will have an extended table topics. Mr. Michael Licata, feel free to call on a few more people. We only have 2 speakers today, so we can do an extended table topics. And remember, if you are doing your table topics, you have to speak for at least 1.5 minutes. And please use our word of the day, if you are, which is Wonderlust, throughout your table topics. At this point, I would like to turn the lectern over to our table topics master, Mike Licata.
Thank you, Larry. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and all our guests. Larry, I love the theme. I did have fun last weekend. You and I shared a couple of drinks last weekend, and I think the theme of a one-day vacation, especially given the time, the current situation with everything that's going on, it is important to be able to get away for a day. So I will start with the veteran and ask Mark Campos. Have you come up with any one-day vacations so far during this? Have you done any experience in the past with one-day vacations? Mr. Mark Campos.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and all of our guests. Good morning. Great to see you all. Mr. Table Topics Master, it's a blessing and it's a curse at the same time. My family and I always seem to have a very full schedule. And as I've shared before, we are fortunate enough to have a cottage near the lake, so we go down there just about every weekend. So I don't have much of an opportunity to build up much of a wanderlust, especially for one-day trips. We're all about going away for the weekends. Weekends are longer, we're all about, because when I get someplace, I like to stay put, because generally, as others have said, it probably is going to involve beverages of the alcoholic variety. And I like to just stay put and relax and sort of chill out, as we say. So during the summertime, we head down to the lake quite a bit. As the seasons change, we traditionally used to go down to Ellicottville for a weekend. That's not happening this year. One thing that will happen, it's been a family tradition for us for a number of years. Phil mentioned Letchworth State Park, which for our guests is just a gorgeous place in upstate New York. We always go away every December for a weekend, which is a really nice getaway. Extended family, friends, we just have a really good time. And then that will happen this year. As we get into springtime, I would be all about maybe a little jaunt to Florida to catch some rays and some warm weather, since we are legendary for our brutal winters here in Western New York. Again, I don't see that happening, but Mr. Table Topics Master, unfortunately, though I am aware of the numerous opportunities that exist in Western New York for day trips, I don't take as much advantage of them as I would like to. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mark. Now I will call on a returning guest, and she's very enthusiastically joined the club. I'll ask Kinga, what do you do for one-day vacations, or if you want to just kind of go over what your experience has been during this whole situation on how you get away and kind of do something different. I'll invite Kinga.
Hello, thanks for this great topic and great question. And here I live in Poland, and for us, for lots of the people here in Poland, the COVID hasn't made so far the big distraction or a lot of harm, and lots of people don't believe also now in COVID, but I think that the situation is going to be worse now during this autumn. But here, where I live, we have lots of old castles, lots of museums, lots of galleries, and also we have a national park when we could spend great time here, and lots of with forest and with lake. And yeah, and for the people who would like to visit Poland, I recommend the part that is in the southeast of Poland, and it's called Bieszczady. And here and it's in this season, in September, October, it's very beautiful there, and some kind of Polonis, and it's not very high mountains, but some kind of flat mountains, and it's beautiful there, and Bieszczady is a great place to visit.
Thank you, Kinga. Now I will call on one of our newer guests. You can, as a guest, you can say no, but Craig Curtis, what do you do for a one-day vacation? I guess would be my next question.
Thank you very much, Table Topics Master. Wanderlust. 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 What would I do for a one-day vacation? I would love to go to two particular places in the world. One place is surrounded by a lot of water, and it's very beautiful. I've traveled there online, been to two places actually. It's also described as a place that you would definitely want to go to on vacation. I've had a friend visit there one summer. He definitely enjoyed it a lot, did some surfing around, and he told me I should definitely go there. And I definitely, after hearing him speak about it, I wanted to have a Wanderlust and definitely go there and visit this place. The background or the backdrop of this place is a very beautiful land. It's very vast. And next door to it is another place that I would like to go on my Wanderlust. It is full of greenery and definitely surrounded by water as well. And I believe I like water a lot because that is underneath my horoscope sign of Cancer. I must be around water. I love the color blue and sitting on the beach and feeling that cool breeze up against my body. These are two places that I would definitely enjoy going on my Wanderlust. And these two places are Australia and New Zealand. I have always wanted to go there on my Wanderlust, and I do plan to go there one day for one of my vacations as my Wanderlust. Thank you very much, and back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Craig. And now I will invite Jen Zappala. What's a one-day vacation you would love to do during this time or at any other time, or when you've done in the past?
Well, typically, I'm not one to take one-day vacations. Like Craig, I would like to take a much longer one to a more exotic location. I do typically get Wanderlust every year in the spring. So I try to cut that off by taking a nice long vacation in January or February to a very exotic location. This year, I made it to India prior to COVID, so that was exciting. But in the meantime, I've had to replace my typical summer excursions out of town. Normally I go down to DC and Virginia, maybe Pittsburgh, check out some fairly short road trips. for a long weekend or 4 days. And I've changed that this year to a hiking challenge. So I've been making my way around the Western New York area to lots of different parks and places and going for some day hikes. And it's been great to get out in nature, see some of the beauty in Western New York and go to places that I've never heard of before. I got to Chimney Bluff State Park this year, which is right up along Lake Ontario, out toward the Rochester area. And I did not know that place existed. It brought a lot beauty to the Western New York area. And I'm hoping to make it down to Letchworth for a second time this summer, or this fall, I should say, to see some of the fall colors. Letchworth is a great area as well to check out, as a few people have mentioned. So all of the different hikes have shown me different parts of Western New York while staying within the state, because it's a risk to leave at this point or come back maybe. I'm sure I'll take longer trips in the future, but for now, the one-day trips, checking out the local area, have been enough to curb my wanderlust. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And now I will also call on Nancy. I know Nancy Ferry, what have your one-day trips been during this time? What do you remember as a kid, or other vacations that you've taken in the past? Nancy
Thank
Ferry.
you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics. Welcome, Table Topics. I welcome the opportunity to do Table Topics today. I've learned that taking one-day trips takes a little bit of planning. When I first moved to New York State, I didn't realize how huge New York State was. I moved from Connecticut, and I looked at a map of New York State, and I was thinking Connecticut. And after church, we planned to go. I had this little feeling of uncontrollable wanderlust to drive and do something adventurous. So we decided to drive around the Finger Lakes. By the time we got down to the bottom of Canandaigua Lake, we decided that this was not going to be a one-day trip in the afternoon. What I do is, like Mark, I go away on the weekends. We have a place on the lake up near Chimney Bluffs. And so I have visited there a couple of times during my weekend stays. And we just relax at the lake and regroup to come back and work on a Monday. Lots of times I take just a day trip up to Alkit, or love to go to Letchworth again. I haven't been there in a few years. I just was writing that down on my list of wishes. So just finding places that get me away and help me to rejuvenate. Usually it includes color, water, that kind of thing. So I thank you for the opportunity. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, I'll ask for our final tabletop is I'll ask another guest. Jamil, what do you do for a one-day vacation, or if you want to talk about any other vacations? I invite you to speak during table topics now. Another guest. Jamil.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I really enjoyed listening to the other speakers, the other Toastmasters speaking this morning on their perspectives on day trips. I feel as though it's compelled me, with perhaps a controversial opinion, listening to people's responses about day trips, it got me thinking about going to a restaurant that perhaps I've been wanting to go to for weeks, months, and I'm filled with desire, and I look at the menu and I restrict myself only to the appetizers. And I feel like that is just full of disappointment. It's not giving you the opportunity to really feel yourself with everything that any of these locations that we've been talking about really have the possibility to offer, right? In my own case, I've spent a lot of time living abroad over the last few years through different parts of Latin America, and I feel like I could never have been able to enjoy those places or even different parts of the US if I were restricted to day trips or just being there over the course of a few hours. And it's just giving you little taste of what really is possible, and to the extent that you can really seize everything that your wanderlust can pursue you to, push you to enjoy, go for it. And most times it's going to require a little bit more than what a day trip can offer. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Jamil. And with that, I will call on Ryan, our word master this morning. How did Wanderlust do this morning, Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, and thank you to all of our speakers. It was well received. Mark used it, Jen used it, Nancy used it, and Jamil used it. And I wasn't sure if Craig used it or not. I wasn't. I don't know if I heard. No, I'm just kidding. Craig took the lead with 7 uses. So 5 of our 6 Table Topics contestants used Wanderlust well, and I definitely appreciate that. I hope I continue to hear it throughout the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Ryan. And now I'll go over to Moklis, our timer. How did we do on time this morning?
Hello. I am tempted to go to Letchworth Park because it is so popular. Our timing for the 6 speakers, all of them qualified. Mark Campos at 2:05, Kinga from Poland at 2:12, Craig was 2:03, Jen was 1:46, Nancy was 1:52, and Jamil was on the dot at 2 minutes. That's my report, Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Moklis. And now I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Larry, and you put the poll up so we can just go from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael, for your table topics this morning and for our 6 contestants. This morning, our topic was one-day trips or getaways. And one of the things that we've been talking about in the Western New York area is the Letchworth State Park area. And Letchworth, many unknown things about Letchworth. Letchworth actually has, and down throughout that area, through the Finger Lakes area and then down in towards Letchworth, there are over 50 waterfalls in that area, which is kind of interesting. And it is also known as the Grand Canyon of the North. There we are. And a lot of hot air balloons and things. I will be spending a week there in October, enjoying the wonderful scenery. And this
now
time,
I can't hear a goddamn thing.
Hello, hello.
Mikey.
Mr.
I
Dave,
can't hear
please
Larry.
mute yourself there. There you go. All right. So there we are. So now one of the things in the fall season is the wonderful changing of colors. And that is one of the things that I enjoy most about the Western New York area, because we do have the 4 seasons. And now as we go into the fall, the changing of the colors is a wonderful thing. If you did not have an opportunity to vote on our table topics, please do so. And what we will do at this point is go into our speaking portion of our program. With that, our evaluator, who will be evaluating our first speaker, which is David Licata, will be Kate Banks, evaluator number 1. Kate, could you tell us a little bit about Dave's speech?
If I can keep my composure, I will do my best. David did try to send me his evaluation, and I simply replied, thank you, in an email without checking the link first. However, I've been trying to get his attention, and he's so well prepared and in position to speak that I could not get his attention, that I could not read his evaluation form.
Didn't hear a goddamn thing.
Oh, David. Well,
I know that.
okay.
Don't treat me like a
So,
fucking retard.
can someone mute them, please, just so we can move forward from Studio 1 and Studio 2 for the moment. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't allow Samir and his evaluator to perhaps go first. Margot, I'm not sure if that's Larry's call or a possibility since they're having some technical difficulties
I'll
there.
tell you what, while Dave is preparing his audio or his video or his, let's go to our second evaluator, Margot. Margot.
Sure. Good morning, everyone.
While David is getting prepared, we'll let David go number 2.
Okay, that works for me. So Samir was wonderful and posted what he is doing on our website. As you know, we can do that on the agenda. He is currently in the leadership development path, and he is doing a connect with storytelling. His purpose this morning is to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. The title was there, so I will allow you to do that for me, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Margot. And our first speaker today is Samir. And Samir will be giving a 5 to 7 minute speech, and his speech is Around the World in 50 Days. Samir, Around the World in 50 Days. Samir, the floor is yours.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, thanks. Hello, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Today, my speech is titled Around the World in 50 Days, and I hope you enjoy it. So, traveling. It's an interesting word of the day we have today, wanderlust. That's something I did not find myself with a few years ago. My mother had recently passed away, and I had just moved to the area. So my father said, hey, you have family around the world. Why don't you go and see them? And I was like, maybe. I kind of like just being depressed and sitting in my room. I don't know why I would want to go around the world. But, you know, over a couple of weeks, I thought, hey, maybe I can leave this frozen wasteland for a few days, few weeks, few months. It was, you know, early January at the time, and I was thinking, hey, let's get out of here. Maybe it's warmer somewhere else. So I had to deal with a planning stage, which of course, traveling is often expensive, but proper planning can mitigate that expense, as well as staying with relatives, which enabled my trip to be had for under $3,000 around the whole entire world. In terms of getting ready, I forgot cold weather clothing, and I packed light so that I could acquire clothes on the trip, which upon my arrival in the UK ended up being a bit inadvisable. As I was leaving, it was a very hazy, kind of a liminal time. I had just started talking with someone recently a lot, and it was really nice. As I mentioned, I didn't feel any specific wanderlust, but I did have a packed journey planned for 7 weeks, and it ended up being quite enjoyable. Like everyone else, you know, I wasn't sure where to go at first in Europe. I have family in the UK, but it turned out that the Portuguese government subsidizes their national airline, so I ended up having a layover in Lisbon in Portugal for 22 hours. I ended up staying at a hostel and actually making some friends, and it was an excellent intro into the experience of world traveling, because while there I noticed it was really inexpensive to get a SIM card pretty much everywhere in Europe, and as I would later learn, throughout the world. So I ended up buying one and having data so I could start talking to my friends and family back home. It was both good and bad for my experience for a reason we'll get to a bit later. After my brief sojourn in Lisbon, I ended up going to the UK. There I stayed with my aunt, my mom's older sister, as well as visiting with lots of other relatives. I did a lot of the normal tourist things like going to the British Museum and seeing the Tate Modern, various other sites. I met my cousin and his new wife in his new house, as well as my other cousin, whose wedding I attended the last time I had visited, who now has 3 kids who are over 10. So it was really interesting to interact with all of them, and having not seen them for so long, kind of just reminisce about my mom and other aspects of life. While I was there, I ended up booking a cheap flight on Ryanair to Berlin at the last minute. I had a friend of a friend who stayed with us when I lived in DC for about a week or two. And so I messaged her on Facebook and said, hey, is it possible for me to maybe stay there with you? I know it's been 9 years since we've talked, but she ended up saying yes. And she actually just had a boyfriend to stay with. So she gave me a key to her apartment in New Cologne. And I had a 5-day sort of mini vacation within a vacation on my own in Berlin. It was fun. I had quite a bit of beer, maybe too much, who knows. And then after those 5 days, I went back to the UK and continued sightseeing. I also started noticing that I was gaining a bit of weight because my family was feeding me quite well. After the UK, I ended up going to Bangladesh, and I there also met with lots of my relatives. I stayed with my cousin on my mom's other older sister's son. It was an interesting experience. I had blogged about my previous one, and this time I saw a lot of the same things, a lot of crushing poverty. We drank lots and lots of tea, but the traffic and congestion in the capital of Dhaka was worse than ever. A new innovation was Uber, which I took there, as well as a motorbike version that was actually faster because they can skirt around the endless traffic jams that the cars are actually stuck in. My family was afraid of putting me in an Uber, ironically, yet had no qualms about taking any rickshaw off the street. I saw some cousins, uncles, aunts, as well as my dad's family friend who I had stayed with last time. And my one cousin, I toured an area called the Pink House, which he had actually never been to before, despite his having lived there his whole life. From there, I left to Malaysia, and I stayed in a hostel in Kuala Lumpur, where I met some really nice travelers from Europe and saw a lot of nice religious architecture that blended in with the modern sensibilities quite well. And that was a really enjoyable experience until about midway through my first afternoon there, I noticed that I was getting extremely sick and I had dysentery. So something seems to always happen right after I leave Bangladesh, I get dysentery. So definitely a life lesson is to make sure you watch where you eat. Even the nice places are sometimes not so great. So I ended up having to go to the hospital for a second, which was actually pretty quick and painless. They just hooked me up to antibiotics and charged me like $100 afterwards, and then sent me on my way, and I was all better. So that was another great experience in Malaysia. After spending 2 nights there, I went to Singapore, which was my original background for the meeting that I'm now struggling a little bit with. And there I saw a really good library garden in the National Library. They had a little courtyard on like the 10th floor of this sort of mini skyscraper. The architecture there was extra fascinating because it's a planned economy. So, when I was coming in, I actually messaged someone I was talking to about how there is a prohibition on free association of people of more than 5 persons. If you meet with more than 4 other people, I guess, you have to report it and register that meeting to the government. It was really interesting, but it was extremely clean, safe, and nice. The food courts were amazing. Each food court I went to was either outdoor or indoor, was probably the equivalent of at least a 4-star restaurant here, all little kiosks. It was really a food lover's paradise as long as you're willing to try new things. And I had some really excellent turtle soup. People were a little less friendly than compared to the European or Malaysian hostels, but it was still really nice. Then from there, I went to China, where I saw a lot of the normal sites, the Forbidden City. The scale of everything was really amazing. But one thing that I did have trouble with was the air quality, and I actually had to wear a mask. From there, I went around the West Coast and returned on my trip around the world back to Buffalo, having left from the East Coast via JFK. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Samir. Around the world in 50 days. Speaking of around the world in 50 days, we would like to, at this point, introduce our evaluator number 2. And before I do that, after each one of our speeches today, if you would, in the chat portion, please private message them and give them a little self-evaluation of their speech and how you enjoyed it or things that you think that they could do to help improve. And that will be in the chat via private message. I would like to invite Kate Banks to introduce our second speaker, Mr. David Licata, and tell us a little bit about his speech. Kate Banks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. I am very eager to hear what Dave will be sharing with us this morning. My apologies, I don't have his parameters. Do you have his timing and title?
I do.
Let's roll right into that then.
Okay, Dave Licata this morning will be delivering a 5 to 7 minute speech. His speech title is The Wizard of Oz, and that is not O-Z, it is A-H-H-S. The Wizard of Oz, Dave Licata.
Can you hear me? You can hear me? All right. Don't start the timing yet. Hold the phone. I want to introduce my guest properly. She is Terry Davis. She is the leadership chair of the New England District of Optimist International. So she came here to find out how we Zoom and maybe learn a bit more about why we were awarded 2 out of 3 awards for Zooming. So if we could share that with her before the end of the meeting, that would be terrific. And once again, thank you very much, Terry. And as we know, in Toastmasters, we never apologize, but I beg your forgiveness anyways. All right. All right, Mr. Timer, I'm ready.
Okay.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our myriad of guests today, welcome to AM Lockport Toastmasters. Many of you know that I am a charter member. I've been in, I don't know, forever then. But I wanted to talk to you about where I feel we need to tighten up. So here's my message. Last night, I attended a meeting. It was a political meeting. And what I noticed was the higher we went up the ladder, we went from local leaders to county leaders, and actually had a state senator in attendance and a state assemblyman in attendance. And I noticed that the higher you went up, the less ahs and the less ums we heard. So that's my topic this morning. Now, being a veteran Toastmaster, and Sylvia's Baptiste husband will bear this out, sometimes we drive people crazy because we keep track of ahs and ums. I want to tell you that there's nothing more important than getting rid of those ahs and ums from your speaking. Sometime back, on a whim, I decided to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the first time I ever earned an academic A. So I went back to Niagara County Community College, signed up as a non-matriculating student, and took Public Speaking 101 again. And we had a wonderful, gentle instructor, a very nice man, and his name was Ken Bauer. Now, Ken Bauer is not a Toastmaster. but I did learn quite a bit, as I learned from everyone, Toastmaster or not. When he addressed the problem of ahs and ums, what Ken Bauer said was, in a very gentle way, he said, when you use too many ahs and too many ums, it makes you sound less sure of yourself. So I thought that was terrific. That's a nice and gentle way. That's a very simple way to put it. So when you want to speak, and to get back to my old bromide, you don't pick up a pencil. You don't sit down at a keyboard. You don't sit down at the keyboard of a piano to write a song unless you're endeavoring to teach somebody something. And that's why we speak, because the bottom line here is we want to share our knowledge. We want to teach. We want to get our point across. We want to be more persuasive. And that's why it's important to take the ahs and the ums out of your speech. The situation is this, and I want to salute our Wizard of Oz this morning, Steve Smith. And I entreat him to be strict this morning, because in the past there's been moments where we weren't so strict about ahs and ums. And we're not doing anybody a favor by skipping the ahs and ums with that gentle, oh gee, I got distracted by my cat. I wasn't listening that closely, but I think we did pretty good on ahs and ums. So I entreat AM Lockport to go back to the fallback. The default is so-and-so had more than 5. Now, we don't want to get manic and start telling people they had 17 or 18, but we just want to get back to that point where we're just reminding people that they had more than 5 ahs and ums. So, to drag in popular culture, as I always do, there was the Wizard of Oz. The famous line in the movie is, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But I want to entreat you to pay double attention to our Wizard of Oz. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Licata, for an enlightening speech this morning. We will be rolling right into our evaluators in just a moment. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention, if you are from the Western New York area, or if you happen to tour for one of our guests, I mentioned that the Finger Lakes area, which is in central New York, has somewhere in the neighborhood of around 50 different waterfalls. But the most famous waterfall of all is the Niagara Falls. And growing up in Niagara Falls, I was going to put a picture of Niagara Falls up, but I did not load it, and I apologize for that. I have not toured as a one-day tour the falls, where I have went on the Maid of the Mist and different tourist attractions, and it's in my backyard. So I encourage you, if you have something near you, especially in this time of what we're going through, to take that moment and just reflect and go to your special place. Speaking of going to our special place, I would like to call on our very first evaluator this morning, Margot, for her evaluation of Samir.
Could we please have a timer's report so we can vote on best speaker first?
Oh, yes. Oh, timer's report. Moklis.
Good morning, everyone. I think Larry was mentioning the Niagara Falls. I don't know if you can see my little picture. My background is the total Niagara Falls with the horseshoe and the American Falls behind me. That's my trademark. Timing. This was a challenging timing session for me. First speaker, of course, was moved to second and second to first. Maybe I'll give the first speaker is the second speaker is the only one who qualifies at 4 minutes and 37 seconds because he gets the 30 seconds buffer. So David is the only one who made the correct time. Samir went over to 8 minutes and 19 seconds, way over the 7:30 for 5 to 7 minutes limitation. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Moklas, for your timer's report. Now we will turn the floor over to Margot for her evaluation of Samir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Samir shared his wanderlust with us today, and it was wonderful. What I really liked was when he started out to tell us about his adventure, he set the stage. Where was he going to go? Why was he going to go? There was a whole story behind it that he started with, which meant to me, in following his outline, he was going to do the entire speech as a story. I loved his artistry this morning. The word choice, some of the pictures you painted of your family with the meals and gaining weight, the pictures of the places that you visited were wonderful. Even the story of your dysentery, I could just see you in the hospital being shocked at how little it was costing compared to America. I loved the backgrounds you used. You tried to change the background with each story you told, and that added another aspect to your speech. You had a mix of humor, true experiences, and you also analyzed along the way about what you enjoyed and what you didn't, which was a very interesting way to actually talk about your leadership style and how you coped with all the different things that came your way. However, part of our evaluation is to share some improvements with you. So making time is number one. You know, we've been here long enough, you know what the timer is, and you need to wrap it up once you see that red. Even if you don't finish the story, finish with, and next time I'll tell you the rest of the story. Your pace, you were a little fast this time, faster than I've heard you speak in the past. I know you were probably trying to cram it all in. I have actually now gone to about half the pace I used to be at. I know it takes time, and I've been here 20 plus years. And you must have had some notes and some things to play with, Samir, because you didn't really look at the camera. And I know that's what I'm not doing now, because I'm looking at your face, watching your reactions. And that's one of the biggest challenges with Zoom. And as Toastmasters, we want to reflect what everybody is telling us. So let me review that it was Samir with his adventure, his artistry, his mix, his improvement, and now I'm reviewing. Samir, your speech was the whole package. Thank you very much for sharing today. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Margot. Our second evaluator, Kate Banks, will be evaluating David Licata. Kate Banks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. And thank you, David, of course. I love to evaluate one of our founders, and I'm also not fearful of it, but I don't ever feel like I live up to someone who's been in Toastmasters for so long and has clearly been speaking long before even his Toastmasters years. And I loved hearing about those kinds of throwbacks this morning and the personal stories. Dave always makes it personal. And I love that you make us laugh. So thank you for the chuckles this morning. And then you neatly introduced yourself and begged for forgiveness at the same time and entreated us with that. And you welcomed your guest again and the myriad of guests. And I love that you welcomed Terry again. I thought your title was clever from the beginning. I'm glad Larry explained it, but we would have figured it out. So Wizard of Oz is something for all of us to remember, that we can improve our speaking, because just like you brought up the story of Ken Bauer, your teacher, in a gentle way, he spoke about ahs and ums making speakers sound less sure of themselves. It does weaken a speaker's credibility, and that's something we're trying to improve upon here. I love that you pointed out our club is also a gentle place to improve our skills, that you pointed out that our club stops at 5 ums and ahs. So we are sticklers to improve, but not hypercritical like some clubs. Maybe you could point that out without knocking other clubs, but say how that can be defeating rather than encouraging when you're told you have 17 ahs or very precisely that much. So I think we always strive as a club to be encouraging as we are all improving one another's skills. I'm glad that you had such a good, strong structure and delivery. You always do, and you did not disappoint this morning. I love that you stand for your speeches. I love that you have a backdrop. Your body language was poised. We could see your whole body, and I love that. I agree with Margot. It's a great suggestion for all of our speakers to input our speech and titles on the weekly agenda. Thanks again, Eric, for making sure the agenda is up. I just love to hear you talk, and I was a bit surprised you didn't tie into the Wanderlust theme or the theme of travel, since you do so much. But I'm glad that you gave us some of the conditioning that we are encouraging, because we do have so many guests today. It's wonderful to see. And so I'll stop my evaluation right there, Mr. Timer. And then I'll just point out that Wanderlust, on behalf of the wordmaster and grammarian, Wanderlust isn't a verb. We don't go wanderlusting. We do go wandering, but Wanderlust is when you have a lust to wander. And I loved our guest Craig for giving us the German Wanderlust, and that was a beautiful thing. But it's the lust to wander. Someone has wanderlust, like they just got back from a trip and they're already planning their new trip, and that is that feeling of wanderlust. So it's a noun, not a verb. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Kate. Moklis, may we have a timers report for our evaluators?
Sure, you may. I think Margot exactly finished at 2 minutes and 19 seconds, very plus, and Kate Banks also at 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Again, super qualified. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your timers report, Moklis. And I must say, I want to commend Ryan, our wordmaster today, for putting it not only into the chat, but also having it on his backdrop. Excellent use of the Zoom. And in his definition of wanderlust this morning, he did say also that it was a noun, but it had some German origin with that. And I thought it was only appropriate that Craig, being from Frankfurt, Germany, was the master of wanderlust this morning with more than 7 wanderlust insertions within his speaking. So with that, we are going to, at this point, welcome one of the most important people today, and I did not forget him, and that is our general evaluator, Len Thornton.
Thank you. Larry, I think you committed the cardinal sin today in failing to introduce the general evaluator in the beginning of the meeting. Therefore, the gloves are off. I'm sorry, my friend. First off, I believe people that have Wanderlust suffer doubly during these times of COVID with all the travel restrictions and the quarantining. I happen to be dating one of these people, and I hear about it all the time. We're going Columbus weekend down to Ithaca to check out some more waterfalls, do some hiking, and yes, of course, Mark, some craft breweries and some wineries, so it will be a stayover type of thing. On to my evaluation of the evaluators and the meeting. First of all, Larry, it's important and extremely helpful to, number one, line up all the speakers, all 3 speakers for a meeting. We have a role of alternate speaker. I know you did contact Beth by email a couple times and she didn't step forward, but I didn't see an appeal to the membership at large for somebody to come up with a speech or have a hip pocket ready just in case. It always flows smoother when we stick to our original plan of 3 prepared speeches. So I would have liked to see a little bit more effort there. And also as an evaluator in the past, it is so helpful when you can go to our club website and download the evaluation form for the speaker you're evaluating, as well as know which project they're doing and their time requirements, so that you have all the tools to do your job when the day comes ahead of time. Let's see. One little thing that just, because I have a little bit of OCD, as co-host, I'm unable to change the name of your presence here on the Zoom meeting. I would love to see TMOD in front of you when you're Toastmaster of the Day or your title, as I do with everybody else. Let me see here. On with our evaluators. Both of our evaluators, seasoned veterans of Toastmasters, did a great job with the sandwich approach. That is to point out some positive aspects of the speaker's presentation, a couple things that they can use to work on or pay attention to in the future that would enhance their speaking skills, and then follow up with additional praise and thank them for the speech. Great way to do an evaluation, very supportive. Margot, great job with Samir picking up all his attributes. One thing I would add to that, and I'm guilty of this a lot as well, sometimes we go over a little bit on our time. Samir went over considerably. That tells me that he probably didn't rehearse this. And sometimes I don't rehearse a speech. And when you think about it, 7, 8 minutes, really a small amount of time of additional preparation, just to get your timing down and know if you have way too much content or not enough, so on. So I would add that. Kate, great job with David. Now, David, you're an experienced Toastmaster, and you had some technical problems today, and that may have affected your rhythm a little bit. I did like your word usage, entreat. That seems to be the new word of the day. But preparation, again, always important when you're speaking. So great job with our evaluators. Great job, Larry, despite a few of your misgivings and not introducing me. Would you like me to call on the other duties for reports, or would you like to take back over the meeting?
Feel free to call the reports if you wish.
Really? Okay. Let's see here. I will go to our gesture master first. We had stepping in today, not Tom Moran.
Larry Egger.
Larry Egger. How were our gestures today? Did we use our nonverbal cues the way we should have?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters. Whenever I do the gesture master, I always try to pick out something different that I can talk about. And today, as I watched the sea of movement before me, and I had a wanderlust through all these pictures, the thing that really jumped out at me were people, how they use their eyes, as crazy as that might sound. For instance, Craig, Nancy, Jamil, as they were talking, they were looking around like they were looking for words. I thought that was an interesting way to use your eyes. Everybody did something with their eyes. I know Mark did a really cool eye roll as he started his. It was one of those, and away we go. Kind of gave a good circle movement of his head. Jen has a steely resolve. I don't know if anybody ever watches her picture, but she doesn't move. She stares a hole right through you in that screen. The only time she moved is she was smiling when she talked. Everything else was, you could almost, it was like a picture, very intense. Dave started out small and sulky. He was way back by his curtains. And then as he moved forward, he got a little smile on his face and wandered around the camera view and did a great job with that. Samir also was looking up a little bit as he talked. I think his notes might have been high. I think he mentioned that. Margot had the eye roll as she took off as she started her presentation. She got the eye roll up. Some people did some stretching. And just as a last observation was Len. When he was introduced, he gave a really evil grin because he wasn't introduced right away and said, "The gloves are off." He's got that evil grin right now. That's all I have, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Larry. Next up, let's go to our grammarian. Jackie, how was our use of the English language today? Jackie Kenny.
On the whole, very nicely done, everyone. I heard a few things that were outstanding. Kate used sticklers to improve. Samir said association was prohibited And I loved all of the color in his wandering. It was amazing. I loved Craig's emphasis on Wanderlust. That was marvelous. It was colorful and so enthusiastic. I liked Margot saying, cram it all in, with her good advice for Samir. But Larry Mackenzie, when we are introducing a person, we do not say which is. Our evaluator, which is. Our evaluator, who is. Please, everyone remember that. I hear that quite often. People are who or whom, not which. Larry did, however, say things were enlightening, and that was also a very nice, colorful word. David, expletive deleted. I know you had a little problem there, but things got out of control. I loved your title, but the word is matriculate, not meticulate. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I want to also point out with David, toward the end of your speech, you said, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I thought, and I finished your sentence in my mind, it was supposed to be, but pay attention to this man in front of the curtain and stop using filler words. But I didn't hear that, so it was really bothering me. Anyway, on to our master. Steve Smith has been keeping tally of our ahs, ums, and filler words. Steve, how did we do today? After John, there you go.
After she does what she does here. Well, it's been an interesting mix today. And seeing how Dave threw the ball squarely in my court to be a heart bleep about the ahs today. I'll start with Dave. Now, he talked a lot about ahs and ums, but I can't count them because that was an integral part of his speech. As far as incidental ones, I didn't catch him in any. I don't know if I want to count his colorful language as a crutch word. So I'll let that go. Now, right off the bat, I caught Moklis saying, you know. I only heard one other you know today, and that was from Samir. We had a few odds and table topics, but those were our guests. I don't know if English is their first language, so I'm not going to make an issue of that. Neither of our evaluators used anything that I caught. Samir had about 4 ahs in his speech. I caught Larry Mackenzie in a few ahs, but he was the one doing the most talking today. And that's all I caught, so that's my report.
Thank you very much, Steve Smith. And now on to our quiz master to see if we were all paying attention. Carol Ann, do you have a quiz for us? Still muted, Carol Ann. There you go.
First of all, Mark usually goes to this place every year, but was unable to. Do you remember where that is?
Ellicottville.
Right.
Ellicottville, yeah.
Ellicottville. And Craig, what places would he really like to travel to?
Australia and New Zealand.
And many times this scenic area in Western New York was referred to.
Letchworth.
Letchworth.
And where did Nancy live prior to moving to New York State?
Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
And where did Shamir first take an Uber?
Bangladesh.
Right. And what country was he hospitalized in?
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
dear.
Very good. That's my report.
Thank you, Carol Ann. And with that, I will turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster today, my friend Larry.
Thank you very much, Len. And we want to thank you for your report and also for your what would I say? Candor, would that be? I have something I wanted to share with our Toastmaster of the day, or not Toastmaster, I'm the Toastmaster. I've not had a lot of sleep last night, but what I want to do is I want to share a picture with our general evaluator this morning. And with that, it's something that I think that I apologize for the fact that I did not call on you earlier, but it was not out of forgetfulness. It was from this past weekend was a very long weekend. And I do remember sharing a 7-Up or 2 with this fellow who is our general evaluator this morning. And with that, I would like to offer a toast to friendships, and not only to friendships, but to living our lives and experiencing those getaways to our private places that we feel make us feel whole again. Hear, hear.
Here, here.
Now, I would like to welcome our guests back one more time to offer their comments in regards to today's meeting. I would like to first call on Cecilia. Cecilia, how did you enjoy our meeting today?
I was really glad to be here today. I felt like I sort of got a better sense of how things rolled, you know, so that was really nice to feel the predictability, I guess, of all the components, and feel comfortable in the unpredictability too, right? Yeah, just the topic was great. I started thinking about some day trips I had done, and yeah, really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to call on Terry Davis. Terry, how did you enjoy our meeting today?
So I'd like to, first of all, thank Dave for inviting me. I've had the pleasure of meeting some Toastmasters over the years, as we use them for our oratorical contest for the Optimists International Organization. And I truly enjoyed it. I kind of, really enjoyed the structure. I mean, I took notes of all the different positions that you all have. And I just thought it was really interesting. And I loved the Wanderlust topic today. As I saw you calling on guests, I panicked a little bit thinking about, oh, if I get called on, what would I talk about? And, with COVID, you would have been interested to hear me talk about my wanderlust is actually in my house these days. Over here to the left, I have a sunroom where I can go in and open the door and smell the flowers and trees and stuff. So it was a great event. I really enjoyed it. And while I'm up early, I'm usually not up and dressed, and I appreciate the fast start this morning. So thanks everybody for having me, and truly enjoyed it.
We meet every week.
I know. Jay.
Yes. And our motto is, it's worth getting up for.
Thanks.
Next, I would like to call on a gentleman from Frankfurt, Germany, who I do believe wins the Table Topics word of the day, I believe, for the most we've ever heard the word given in a Table Topics. Craig Curtis.
Thank you very much, Larry. First of all, I'd like to say, yes, Terry, I'm glad to see that you were in Frankfurt. Yeah, a lot of people think that I'm in the military, but my dad was in the military. I'm here as a civilian, but definitely a very good meeting today. Like I tell people, I have been doing this since March 12th. I know it's a different medium, but it's a good chance to practice your different roles in Toastmasters. Last night, yes, I had the word of the day, delve, and they were surprised that I said the word 7 times. I guess 7, as I always say, that is not my lucky number, but my favorite number. And I definitely enjoyed the theme today, the speeches, and the table topics. Thank you very much.
Curtis, I've been to New Zealand. You will not believe the scenery. It is beyond belief.
Yes. Craig, thank you for joining us this morning. You're always welcome. We meet every Thursday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also have Jamel Barton joining us. Jamel, how did you enjoy the meeting? And Jamel, where are you from?
Good morning. I am here in Buffalo, New York. I'm from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
And in the last few years, I've been outside of the city and outside the state, but because of COVID-19, I've returned to the area. This is my second meeting. I really enjoyed both of them. It's very clear why this club received those 2 awards for conducting meetings on Zooms. Via Zoom. I think that you all foster a real sense of community that comes through over the course of these meetings. And I think I'm very impressed by how you're able to maintain the structure and the feel of an in-person meeting despite the technological challenges and the inconveniences that come with it. So I really impressed by how you all have conducted it, and I'm glad to share with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. We also have from Poland, Kinga. Kinga, how did you enjoy the meeting this morning?
I believe she may have left.
Did Kinga leave? Okay. And then we do have another guest. I believe it's Trethway. It is listed on our Zoom. Are you with us? Okay. All right. What I will do is turn the meeting at this point back to our president for our ribbon winners. Thank you for letting me be your Toastmaster of the day. Your Toastmaster for next week will be Mike Licata, and I'm sure Mike will be getting the agenda out to everybody. Please welcome Eric, our president.
Thank you, Larry. I'm going to switch over to Ryan real quick because we forgot the word master report.
I figured you wanted to do that.
Ryan?
I think both Ryan and Larry drank too much over the weekend.
I just gave the word master report in the chat. So Wanderlust was used well today. Most of my thunder was already stolen. Please, as you go forth and use the word of the day, remember it is a noun, not a verb. And our winner was Craig, 7 times in table topics. Fantastic. It's a fantastic word. I think at this point we are, some of us 6, some of us 7 months into quarantine, at least in some form or fashion. And so I feel like this is something that most people are feeling at this point. Just a desire to get somewhere, even if that's your backyard or your neighbor's backyard or a park nearby. So make sure that you're getting out there, getting some fresh air safely, and continue to enjoy what you can. So, Mr. President, thank you for not forgetting about me, as all of the others did.
Oh, my pleasure, Ryan. On to our winners this morning. Our best table topic speaker this morning, our guest, Craig Curtis. Craig, congratulations. Our best evaluator this morning is Kate Banks. Congratulations to Kate. And our best speaker this morning, who gave us colorful commentary before his speech that made us all laugh and had tears coming out of our eyes, is Dave Licata. Congratulations to Dave.
Thank you so much. And I want to remind everybody that I won because the other speaker defaulted on time. But the message there is 95% of success is just showing up.
Thank you for that, Dave. Are there any final thoughts, announcements from the floor this morning?
Yes, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
This is just a reminder that our open house will be October 22nd. I'm sorry. Yes, October 22nd. I'm not sorry. So as we prepare for that, you're going to start to see some social media posts. So as a reminder to the assembled crew here, as you see those social media posts, please not only like, but share and get the traction going for our open house. I appreciate that, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Ryan. That's October 22nd, our fall open house. Are there any final announcements from the floor? Oh, don't forget, tonight is our social hour, 7 p.m. And Larry, I believe you'll put that in the chat, the link for that. And yes, Dave, I will gavel out the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful meeting today. Post Toasties is up next. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all next week. Thank you.